I am finally back among the living with the Skin the Cat tutorial all of you have been asking for. We're going to go through all of the necessary requirements for this exercise step by step, finding out what kind of strength, flexibility and coordination we need, and we're gonna make it as beginner friendly as possible. So even if this is your very first time learning a calisthenics skill, you will still be able to get right into it without having to think about it. That goes for the tucked in version as well as the extended version. So if you're ready, my favorite movement enthusiasts, let's go and have some fun. Beginning with shoulder mobility and scapular mobilization, your best friend for these exercises will be their stock. You can use any stick whatsoever, a broomstick will be absolutely perfect. Number one, going through complete rotator cuff rotations, taking our shoulder through a very long range of motion and taking our scapula through the four main positionings. The depression, scapular abduction, scapular elevation, as well as scapular adduction and back into depression once more, going through an active movement and lengthening your shoulders and your lats as much as possible. Be sure not to go through this movement in a passive manner, but lengthen your shoulders and lats as much as you can, elevate them as much as you can and pull them together as close as you can before you push them down as far as you can. And the same goes for the negative movement as well, as if you were planching. Moving us to the last two positionings, we're gonna require grab that stick behind your back with your fingers pointed upward, extend both those arms toward the ground and push your back into spinal extension and your arms forward, moving your scapula into downward rotation. And with our arms pretty close together, we're gonna pull up higher and higher into scapular upward rotation, which is gonna activate all of our trap muscles and the musculature that pulls our shoulder blades forward into rotation. All the way back, extension, all the way up, upward rotation, which of course means thoracic spinal flexion and lumbar and thoracic spinal extension. Once again, we don't want to be too passive and we want to activate all those muscles as much as we can. And our final stick assisted exercise, grabbing the stick shoulder width apart or slightly closer, we want to pull our shoulders up and back as much as we can with our hands close together. And once we are back here, we want to elevate our shoulder blades, hold for a second or two, release some of that tension, and repeat this short movement once again, giving us that final bit of scapular control and moving us into this almost dislocation position. Pull back behind your ears, elevate as much as you can, and pull back the slightest bit more and hold for a handful of seconds. Which moves us to scapular mobilization and control exercises on the bar, which will consist of only two exercises. The symmetrical scapular pull-up going into scapular depression and adduction, as well as scapular elevation and abduction, and the second exercise being the unilateral or asymmetrical scapular pull-up for more unilateral control and a better mind-muscle connection, so we can activate those scapular and shoulder musculature at will to the best of our ability. This will be more than enough to teach you the necessary scapular as well as rotator cuff control, and now we can move on to the next step, and that is flexibility. While we have been working on mobility, our ability to take a joint actively through a longer and longer range of motion, flexibility is just our ability to lengthen a muscle as much as we can, and we're going to focus specifically on our anterior delts and our pectorals because they will have the most pull in this position. So before we get into the only two exercises you're going to need for that, we just want to loosen up those muscles the tiniest bit. Grab onto a wall or whatever you have and lengthen your shoulder as well as your pecs and start moving the tiniest bit down and the tiniest bit up. We don't want to have a long range of motion, we just want to loosen up for the upcoming exercises, just so we don't injure ourselves. Lengthen dynamically, move up and down, and you're gonna notice the point where you feel the most stretch. Hold for a second or two and reverse. And by far one of the most amazing exercises to help you get into this lengthened position is lowering down into a dip as low as we can and holding that position for 20 to 30 seconds. You do not need to go through the dip movement by itself if you do not want to add this shoulder and arm strength part. Just start at the top, lower into the lowest point, And you can already see this super lengthened position for our pecs and our deltoids, and you can just step off, take a short break, and move back into the position. With the absurd bonus of this being a loaded or weighted stretch, meaning we have a lot of weight pulling us deeper into that position, and you can even just step off, reverse, take a short break, and repeat. With the only other flexibility exercise requiring a horizontal bar right behind our back, and we're gonna grab shoulder width apart and start lowering in this skin the cat simulation, which pretty much brings your arms into the exact same position you would have when you are hanging fully into this exercise. As low as you can, put as much weight on it as you can, reverse, and get up again. Shoulder wide grip, arms fully extended, lower down by bending your knees, bending your hips, and then start extending backwards and pushing your body actively down. Pull up, reverse, release for a second or two, and lower back into this position. And of course, it's super easy to simulate this with a barbell. Shoulder wide grip, arms extended behind our back, lower down into a squatting position, and then extend your legs, pulling you deeper. Hold, and reverse. It feels way better than just amazing to open up our anterior chain as much as we do in this exercise. With our final progression before we skin the cat being strength, Kraft, Habibi, Kraft. And that strength we're gonna require is number one, grip strength, meaning you wanna learn how to hold on for at the very least half a minute in a complete dead hang or passive hang. And once you are strong enough to do that, you also want to learn to hang from one arm at the very least for 15 to 20 seconds. Relax into the position, hold, swing around a little bit, enjoy it, let go, and of course repeat for the other side. And basically the only other strength part we need will be for our anterior chain, specifically our abdominals and our hip flexors. Hanging from a bar, level number one, knee raises. Level number two, extended leg raises. And level number three, all the way up, touchdown, and reverse. Doing these anterior chain and core strength exercises while hanging will add the bonus of grip strength, but will take off some of that core strength you can build. So once you're done with a full set of these and you don't have any more energy, you can finish up the last bit of strength you have for your hip flexors and core in a seated position, legs fully extended, upper body fully extended, and raise those legs in an extended fashion, which will add a little bit of posterior chain stretch, and which means we will require a lot more strength for doing this than we would if we lean back. The more you lean back, the easier the exercise will be. The more you extend and lean forward, the harder the exercise will be. So if being fully upright is too easy for you, hands on the floor, raise that leg for a second or two, reverse, and repeat. And now that you have all the necessary tools, we can finally put it together and skin the cat. If this is your first time doing this exercise, or you do not yet feel fully comfortable in that position, I would advise to have something below the bar you can step off onto, and to step onto so you can get up to that bar without jumping if you're a little bit shorter. Now, I'm 6'9", so I don't really need that, but some people are a little bit shorter than that. Step number one, grab the bar. Step number two, lower into a passive hang. Now we're gonna put together what we learned. First, the knee raises, then we're gonna touch, then we're gonna roll over, and now we're gonna lower into this full or tucked skin the cat position. Hold and reverse actively by flexing and controlling all those muscles we learned to control through the mobilization exercises. Which means that we want to learn how to do this exercise in a tucked position first before we start lowering and extending our legs, because that is going to give even more pull onto our chest and shoulders. Reverse, release, and repeat. Roll into that position, hold for a second or two, and if you don't have any more strength left, you can just step off, just like so. Once you feel more comfortable going through this movement, it is time to do the extended variation. I am missing a lot of space here, so I hope it's possible to go through the entire movement without having to tuck in, but legs extended, pull up, and try and roll through. You see, I have to tuck in a little bit, but we're gonna extend once more, and then with extended legs, roll into the position and lower into a passive skin the cat. Hold for a second or two, close your legs, roll over your shoulders with extended legs and try and go through the entire movement. Take a short break before you go on to the next repetition. If it's super tight and you do not have the necessary posterior chain flexibility to go through the movement in an extended fashion, you can add a passive posterior chain stretch. Elevate your body, grab onto something heavy and lower into a forward fold or a pike position, which you can just hold passively for half a minute to a full minute. Lower into a deep squat, take a break and repeat once more. When it comes to programming for the mobility and mobilization exercises, we're gonna go through a full minute per exercise, take a half-minute break, and then go for a second round. When it comes to the flexibility and stretching exercises, we wanna hold the deepest position of the stretch for 20 to 30 seconds before we take a short break and repeat 3 times. And when it comes to the strengthening exercises, this will totally depend on how strong you are, but you can even go through a single repetition, take a short break and repeat as often as you feel is possible for you, especially if you are a beginner. Very easy, take as long a break as necessary and just do a handful of repetitions. It's not gonna run away. You can take whatever time you need to learn this exercise because the injury risk is a tiny bit higher than the more classic calisthenics exercises. And by following these, will you not only become more flexible and stronger in loads of other exercises and disciplines, but you're also gonna learn a lot of body control that most people will never achieve. But with that said, once again, sadly, that's all the time I've left you today. If you liked the video, like the video and subscribe, and please guys, check out other videos on this channel because we literally have new ones every single day, which means that I will see you guys tomorrow. Captain Cairo, peace out.